What is the secret of Soylent Green?
New York City, in the year 2022. Nothing runs anymore. Nothing works. But the people are the same, and the people will do anything to get what they need.
This is the police.
What they need most is Soylent Green.
Soylent Green and Billy Sauce. It turned in your hole.
It is the secret of Soylent Green.
Greetings. This is going to be an entry in our Futurism Film Friday series, which I have not posted a video for in a while. And we're going to do a review of one of the most famous films in the Futurism genre, Soylent Green. But it's actually one of the most infamous films from my point of view because it is the one that has the least faith in human ingenuity and the ability of technology to mitigate shortages. So this is a film made in 1973 and is set in the distant future from the point of view of 1973, which is 2022, which is today. But it was set 49 years in the future from when the film was released, and that was a pretty distant future. I mean, think about, from our point of view, what would be 49 years in the future, 2071. So 49 years in the future, and the world did not turn out nearly as badly as they predicted 2022 would be like in the film, because the film is based on the premise that as human population grows, there's no demand destruction of any essential necessities that humans require, and therefore everything goes into shortage. In the 2022 depicted in Soylent Green, they have a New York City that's 40 million people, so that's already wrong, and all basic necessities are in extreme shortage. People don't even have fruits and vegetables anymore. They don't even have whole legumes and beans and grains anymore. The only food they have available to them are some solid manufactured processed food that's kind of like a plastic square, and that is Soylent Green. And there's also a backdrop of global warming, as they've been predicting for decades upon decades that would be the case, and that is a very prominent feature of Soylent Green. So the whole film is under the assumption of Malthusian scarcity. Population will keep growing even as resources get scarcer and scarcer, and there's no demand destruction, and there's no technological adaptation to create new supply or create alternatives. And this is clearly what didn't happen. So the 1973 environmentalist view that created this film and predicted what 2022 would be like was off by a huge, huge, huge amount. The very paradigm under which this film is created has no understanding of the first principles of technology and economics. So let us continue with the trailer here.
He has a 2-year backlog of unsolved murders. Now he's on a case that must be solved. Saul Roth, Thorne's private library.
Hey, Saul.
A living book in a world without books.
Have some pencils, courtesy of your next assignment. William R. Simonson.
Simonson. He was the first to learn the secret of Soylent Green.
They told me to say that they were sorry, but that you had become unreliable.
Saul Roth was the next to know. And he chose to die, rather than reveal the secret of Soylent Green.
So that all seems pretty ominous and dispiriting, a very dystopian presentation of the future. Now, within this scarcity mentality, that is how we arrive at the fundamental crux of how dystopianism sells, whereas the reality is quite the opposite. Let us see how much human prosperity has in fact progressed from the time this film was made to the present. This is a chart of world poverty, of course, and it measures what percentage of the world's population lives in some absolute standard of poverty, measured by about $2 a day. And it was at 94% for centuries upon centuries until 1820, and only at that point did progress become measurable enough to matter, but still not fast enough that a person would observe any major improvements within their lifespan. So it fell from 94% all the way down to 60% in 1970, and this film was made in 1973, so right around here. So it still fell from 94% to 60% over 150 plus years. But then, under accelerating rate of economic growth, 60% in 1970 fell to single digits today, and that is in fact the truth. Only a few percentage points of the world's population live under what is considered an absolute standard of poverty, under $2 a day. most people today would seem very prosperous to the average person of 1970. That is a fact. And this trend is evidence of the accelerating rate of economic progress. I also provide a lot of other data about the accelerating rate of economic progress, which you can look at in this video up here. But this shows how wrong the paradigm in the film Soylent Green was, and how their belief of scarcity and how 2022 would in fact be much poorer than 1973 was what their prediction was. And of course, quite the opposite happened, as is to be expected in a world of accelerating economic progress. Now, this film has a major twist ending. Since the film is almost 50 years old, the ending is not some huge secret, but if you have not seen the film and don't know what the twist ending is, you may want to do that so you don't find out the ending. A twist ending like that is not very hard to figure out, but remember, this was a time when people only saw films in the theater, or if a particular film was shown on television at a certain time, there were not even VCRs for which you could rent movies to watch them when you wanted. You could only watch it on TV when it showed up, or when it came in the theater. And that's why word about twist endings could not spread very quickly. It was only on a word-of-mouth basis. It was not on any medium as pervasive as the internet. And therefore, a twist ending like that could still be a bit of a surprise. This was the second film within a few years in which Charlton Heston featured in both a film about futurism as well as one with a twist ending, the other one being The Planet of the Apes, which was in 1968, and is another film that we're going to review on this Futurism Film Friday series of videos. Lastly, this was also the final film for the great Edward G. Robinson, and he revealed to Charlton Heston that he was terminally ill during the shooting of the final few scenes of this film. And there's a bit of a backstory around that you could look up online if you're curious about that. But Edward G. Robinson died shortly after the completion of this film. But anyway, this is a film that I recommend not for futurism purposes, but just because it has elements of horror, dystopia, and a twist ending for the few of you who may not know what the twist ending is. And it's a film you probably have never heard of if you did not grow up in an English-speaking country, or if you are younger than a certain age, because it's not one of the most famous films of the era like Godfather or Godfather 2, which were made around the same time. So you should check it out and realize how this scarcity mentality and Malthusian view of resources is always proved wrong, and that's why people who recommend that you invest in gold because money printing will cause hyperinflation any day now, those people continue to be completely wrong, because the first principles of technology and economics always prove true. Whenever something becomes too expensive, technology finds a way around that scarcity or creates supply of the item that was too expensive. Therefore, living standards only rise, barring some extremely bad mismanagement by government, which itself can be corrected at a faster and faster rate under this accelerating rate of change. So this is some food for thought, but keep in mind this chart and the accelerating rate of economic change so you can perhaps chuckle at how bad they thought 2022 would be relative to how it turned out in material prosperity alone. Now, cultural quality, etc., that is more debatable, but in terms of material prosperity, yeah, we are way, way, way better than what was anticipated. I hope you found this review to be informative, and if you like this type of content, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching.